She'll, is it just Tony's?
Files that are on there.
There it is. Do something Saturday night.
Welcome, everybody. We're going to start the workshop. It's 5:30. This is the workshop for the mayor and aldermen, March 1st, 2018. The prayer is going to be by Alderman Jones, and the Pledge of Allegiance is with Alderman Cole. Everybody needs to look over their minutes for February the 6th, 2018, regular meeting. After the department reports, we do have one presentation for Tuesday night, and that's from State Representative Mike Sparks. That puts us down to old business, number 4. Second reading, ordinance 2018-01, an ordinance to amend the City of Laverne zoning ordinance as it pertains to convenience store sales. This received a favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission back on December 28, 2017. There will be a public hearing on this March 6th, 2018 at 6:30. Any question on number 4? Like I say, this is old business. We had it last month. Number 5 is also second reading, ordinance 2018-02. An ordinance to amend Title I, Chapter 1, Section 1-01 regarding the time and place of regular meetings. This is second reading. We had this last month. Any discussion on number 5? Puts it down to number 6, second reading. Ordinance 2018-03. This is an ordinance to amend Title I, Chapter Section 1-102 regarding order of business at regular meetings. Since we had this last month, this is second reading. Any questions? Any discussions? Anything we need to know? All right, puts it down to consent agenda. Number 7. A, motion to approve or reject bids and purchases. Felicia, number 1, bid asphalt paving and material.
Sir, ma'am, Alderman, Mayor, we have, I've presented you with a spreadsheet, which is just a sample of what we may or may not do with paving. And the lowest bidder was Jones Construction out of Nashville, so we recommended that we go with the lowest bidder on that one. Do we have any questions? Do I have any questions for me concerning
Mayor,
that?
As far as this is concerned, I'd like to request that this be removed from the consent agenda and put it as a new business.
Alderman Jones has requested this being removed from the consent agenda. All right. Any other discussion on the asphalt paving and material? I guess that puts it down to number 2. That's street striping.
Okay, and at this point, street striping, we have, we had one vendor reply, and that would be Marketing Impressions Corp. DBA Pope Striping. They have the Smyrna Murfreesboro and the county contract now. Apparently Kerr Brothers must not be going to stay in business much longer because they did not reply. So we would recommend that we go with Pope Striping for this striping contract.
Any questions on number 2, the street striping?
Is it the only 2 striping companies that we're aware of?
That's the only 2 of that I'm aware of, and I am aware that Kerr Brothers is looking to try to sell.
Number 3, concrete maintenance.
The concrete maintenance, I was a little bit disappointed with that we only had 2 contractors reply for that. But however, we recommend that we go back with J&R Construction. They have been good in the past. Divisional Constructors was a little bit cheaper on some items, but they did a minimum $1,500 per mobilization, and that kind of throws it all out of whack. Because we may have 3 things on one street, and unless I'm misreading it, and Garland, you may correct me if I'm not, it would be 1,500 per location that they have to set up at. That's the way I'm reading this. So that's why we're recommending that we just go back with J&R Construction, and they have been good in the past to work with our department and get things done. So, any other questions?
Moving on to number 4, state contract pricing, annual Microsoft software license renewal. Who's got that one?
Yes, that's we do this every year. That's our yearly payment for our Microsoft licensing. We're in year 1 of 3 of this term's contract, and it's actually, this year is a little bit cheaper than our last payment, about $3,000. So we're just presenting it to you as we do every year.
Good. Any questions for Glenn? Number 5, repair to inline hockey bleachers. I bet you that's A.C. Davis.
You've come out and looked at it, Mayor, at length. It's going to be pretty pricey. We've decided to go with VB Concepts upon y'all's approval. It's going to cost $10,000 to shore up all the metal and to straighten out the bent brackets and to re-weld all the spots that are bad and reseat it into the pavement there. We did get 3 quotes. VB Concepts out of Nashville seems to be very qualified, and their price is right in the middle somewhere. And they're certified welders, and so they're going to take care of that. We're going to take care of putting the seating back on it ourselves. All the lumber and the hardware is going to be an additional roughly $3,000 that Youth Incorporated said they would try to split that cost with us if they could. I almost hate to ask them to do anything because they have done so much. They just resurfaced the rink at a tune of $7,000, and they've just raised the concession stand up, put a new floor in it, and all of that total cost is going to be around another $10,000. So by the time they're done, man hours and everything, they're going to be right around $20,000 that they've done that saved the city a cost of having to do that. So they're outstanding. So they've been a lot of help. So
Any questions, AC? I was thinking that Youth Incorporated was going to pay 50%.
well, I brought that up too, and he said after they got through with the $20,000 to do the concession stand and the resurfacing of the rink, he said they didn't have enough for that, but he said they would go in halves on the planks, and that's after spending all that money on the other stuff too. So
Was that company you recommended, were they the cheapest?
they were right at there was one guy less than that, but he didn't have a certification and he wasn't insured.
Okay.
So
Any further questions for AC? Moving down number B, approve change order number 1 for Hollandale Drainage Basin Sewer System, Neil Hall. Mr. Hall.
Mayor and Aldermen. Boatman Construction is performing the sewer rehabilitation project in the Hollandale Drainage Basin. We have 25 manholes whose frames and covers were offset too much to install chimney seals, and Mr. Boatman gave us a price to install or to reset those castings, and then the chimney seals will be installed. Also, February has been a particularly bad month for restoration in folks' yards, and he's asked for additional time to allow better conditions to do the property restoration. So the change order recommends an increase of $6,850 and 45 days, and we recommend that the city execute the change order.
Any questions for Mr. Hall while he's up there? Thank you, Mr. Hall. Puts us down to C, approve amendment number 5 to a agreement with the Tennessee Department of Transportation for the Hurricane Creek Greenway project. Let's see, Kyle, I think it's you, ain't it?
Mayor, C, D, and E are all kind of connected. I'll try to explain. explain them basically as a group. On C part that you just mentioned, Amendment 5 to the TDOT contract is where TDOT is approving additional funding to the city. On that list that's in your packet, it's the TAP funding at a total of $457,372.10. Basically, they're doing that, and we're amending their contract with us to try to account for the total cost of what's going to be in the change order for the ultimate project cost, which is going to be the next two items, which is Amendment number 5 to the agreement, or not Amendment 5, Amendment 3 to the agreement with Weiser. Basically, on this project, Weiser had a contract, if you'll remember, with the city that was to do CEI services basically for a 9-month period. Of course, everybody knows that's had anything to do with the Greenway. This has taken way longer than 9 months, and we had several months of issues. I know the contractor was not working during several months. However, Weiser was still having to come to the site, work with the contractor, and we still have to finish up the contract. So basically, that's going to be an amount of, they're requesting $34,378.30 additional. That way they can finish up the CEI services. And again, since there's federal funding in this project, we have to have CEI services provided. So this is pretty much get the contract done. This is a have to. And it all ultimately goes back to the project, which is the next change order, which is change order 1 for the project. Now, this is with a contractor, and basically what we've run into, and I think John Gordon from Weiser is here, and I think he may have a PowerPoint he's wanting to present to you. But basically, the contract has had some bad soils and other things out on the site that we've had to that we've run into, that we've had to excavate, put, of course, more rock and stone down to be able to have a suitable base before we put the Greenway back in, or before we put the pavement down. There's also been a couple of flooding events that's been a lot of damage that has to be repaired. And although change order with the contractor that you have in your packets, the cost of that addition is going to be an additional $493,111.98, and that will be also adding 47 days. Now, once this change order gets done, we still have days in the contract that we're going to have to discuss at the next change order, along with doing a final balancing change order. So kind of the days issue that we've had, because it's clearly way over the contract time. And if you look in the packet, it's basically still projecting a date that we're way beyond as far as the completion date when you give them the additional 47 days. So we've still got to come to an agreement on that piece. As far as the total amount of the contract, this is Weiser's best estimate on the quantities that we have yet to pay and what would still need to be done to finish up this project. And of course, Weiser's agreement is based on the same thing. They're basically saying they estimate $34,000 and they'll be done. Now, for the city, this means is going back to the TDOT contract, when they're adding that $457,000 as it stands currently. If we did not get this additional funding, we would be responsible for 100% of the cost of the remainder of the project, which is in the ballpark of $450,000. That would all be the city's cost. With the state doing this, we're only going to be responsible for 20% of that $457,000. So that is a plus for the city, but we all need to keep in mind that's the reason why the state's trying to do this, is everybody knows the issues we've had with this project. They're trying to do additional funding. That way we can work this out. That way we don't end up in litigation and this project not get completed, because this is a project that's got state, federal funding involved. And that's the last thing anybody wants, is for the project not to be completed, or for it to be completed 5 or 6 or 7 years from now. If we have to go to litigation and we have to just continually work this out, it's not going to be good for anyone. So that's kind of what this all entails. And like I say, it's the next 3 items. And John, if you want to, I guess, say your portion of.
That's John Gordon from Weiser.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Aldermen. What I came for today was mainly to answer any questions, and I can do our PowerPoint, and the PowerPoint is basically just to show mainly the poor soil conditions that we had out at the project, which caused us to overrun on the amounts that Kyle was mentioning there. So if we kind of skip through maybe to about the sixth slide or so, we should get to the photos. Some of you may have seen this, that trail construction, parts of it are complete with the paving out there. So this is one that shows the construction issues. When we were out there, this was a summer day, and so the surface looked good, but the structural ability of the soil was failing. And so we started digging to see what was under there, and that's what we found. And then a few hours later, we've got the water that was in there perched on top of the bedrock. And so with that water staying in the soil on top of the rock, it causes the soil to not be good structurally. So we had to take that out and come back in with backfill to provide enough strength to be able to build the trail. And then so there's a picture of one with the same thing happening for where the bridges are going in, that as we dug down, the groundwater was coming up, even though it was relatively dry time during the summer. So that's one of the reasons that we had some additional costs there. And those photos also have some of the rutting that you could see as we tested the trail or ran equipment across it. Then the gravel was failing, but it was actually the soil underneath that was failing. And so those are the major items, the undercutting down and then backfilling up with suitable material. That's the major overrun numbers. Beyond that, the project has gone pretty well within percentages of what we normally expect on a project. And as Kyle was saying, the overrun cost, the city will be paying the 20% match part with the 80-20 match with the funding from the state, which is item C.
Any question for John Gordon while he's up here? I know we got two more items on this thing, but John's up here to answer any questions y'all might have concerning the Greenway. Thank you, John.
All right, thank you.
We might get you up here again on D and E. Down to D, approve Amendment 3 to the agreement with Weiser for the Hurricane Creek Greenway project. Kyle?
Mayor, this is kind of what I just discussed. Basically, this is the actual amendment to the agreement with Weiser for the CEI services. If you got any questions on that, I can answer those.
That puts down to the E. That says approved change order number 1 for the Hurricane Creek Greenway project.
Again, Mayor, this is the change order that would be for the project that is the additional funding, or not really funding that's approved, but additional pay amount that's going to be required for the items and unit quantities to get this project completed, and also the additional days, that was 47 days.
Any questions? Puts it down to F, approve application for a Homeland Security grant for the fire department. Chris, that's got your name all over it.
Annually, I come in front of you asking permission to seek the opportunity to apply for a Homeland Security grant. Last year, we received the funding for plate carriers, which are bulletproof vests for the firemen, one for each seat. We have been approved, and they should be ordered as soon as the county cuts the PO through emergency management. Last year we received ballistic helmets. Unfortunately, we're in a day society that with active shooters and things like that, we need to get in there and start helping with the injured. This year, I'm requesting that we receive 25 more ballistic plate carriers. That way every fireman is outfitted, they have their own. And also, I'm requesting that there's a conveyor belt for hazardous materials after we decon an individual that is not ambulatory. We'll roll them up onto a conveyor belt and slide them down so we can decon at ease. And last but not least, I'm asking for $25,000 through Homeland Security to provide personal protective equipment for swift water rescue. I've been here, we've had a few incidents where we've had water rise up in the neighborhoods, around vehicles. I operated approximately, I guess, 3 or 4 months ago. We had a flash flood here in Laverne, operated 3 different teams all night long to take care of the citizens here and make sure the evacuations were appropriate. I feel like that we need additional personnel out there in the field that is trained in this level, and our first start is the equipment.
Any questions for Chris? Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Good job. That puts us down to new business. Number 8, first reading ordinance 2018-04. It's an ordinance to amend the Laverne zoning ordinance regarding used car sales. This received a favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission back on November 28, 2017. Bruce?
Yes, sir. There's actually 2 versions of this ordinance in your packet, and it's up to the board as far as what you'd like to do. The first version, which I call version A, is basically how the Planning Commission recommended this to come before the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. And really the only difference between the 2 is the definition used under Section 1 of that ordinance. Version A, the definition for used car sales basically says any business offering used car sales and or similar services as its primary function, which is a pretty vague definition. I went in and did some research and found some other definitions that I liked better. And on version B, under Section 1, you'll have a definition for used car, and I won't read it, but it specifies what is considered a used car. And then used car sales is more specific on what a business is that would sell used cars. The concept, the intent of the Planning Commission is the same, and Evan can probably explain this a little bit more, but it's our understanding that the Board of Mayor and Aldermen can make minor changes to an ordinance after it's come from the Planning Commission without it going back before the Planning Commission. But it has to be a minor change and not change what the perceived recommendation would be from the Planning Commission. I personally feel that these are minor changes. I don't believe it would change the recommendation from the Planning Commission. So basically you have 3 options. You could approve the version that came from the Planning Commission as it was approved by them. You could approve the version with the revised definitions in there. Or your third option, you could send the revised version back to Planning Commission to get an actual recommendation on that specific version. So those are the 3 options that I think you have.
I think I like the option C. You know, I agree with you, Bruce. I think we need some language and some tweaking done, but I'd feel more comfortable if we run it back through the Planning Commission and let them look at it, and then it come back to us. And then I think it'd be make myself more comfortable with it.
And that's a decision of the board, so it's up to whatever this board wants to do.
Any further question on number 8? That's the used car ordinance regarding. Number 9, first reading. Ordinance 2018-05. That's an ordinance to amend the Laverne zoning ordinance to remove self-storage mini warehouses from commercial zoning districts. This also received a favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission on February 27th of 2018.
Mayor, this is another amendment to the zoning ordinance from the Planning Commission. Basically, it just removes the self-storage mini warehousing. I believe it is only in the C2 zoning district right now. So that is the only commercial district where it is currently allowed. In the past, we have had several proposals to have various mini storage units, primarily along Murfreesboro Road, which I think we all would agree is not our preferred use of property. We'd rather see more retail and restaurants and stores and whatnot. in those locations. We do still allow self-storage in the industrial zones. So there are still places where, self-storage can go. But this ordinance basically just takes that one item out of the uses that are permitted and then renumbers the following items to make the ordinance flow like it should.
Any questions on number 9? Number 10, Resolution 2018-04, a resolution of the City of Laverne Board of Mayor and Aldermen to declare property owned by the city to be surplus to the city needs and directing disposal of the same. This is a fire truck and some fire equipment, right, Chris?
It's the,
Ricky?
this is the ladder that has had the major oil leak on it for several years. We've used it as a backup, but it is one of the trucks that we've been going to surplus since we got the new equipment in. But we've been having to hold on to it because of things back and forth and the wreck truck and all of those things. But this is actually the ladder. We'll still have the engine. It'll probably be coming up next month, hopefully, for surplus as well. But this is a truck we're just not using anymore.
What year is this ladder truck?
It was remounted. It's a 95. It's considered a 95 because it's a remount. The remount ladder on it, though, was almost 20 years old. So it had a remount on it when we bought it. So it's
So
pretty
we've got
old
good
truck.
use out of it then.
We've got very good use out of it, yes.
Any question for Ricky on the
Mayor,
surplus property?
I will note, Mayor, under Section 3 and Section 4, there's also some expired air packs and spare bottles, as well as turnout gear. Those will have to be destroyed because they have exceeded their use and are unsafe to sell on gov deals or give away, whatever. So
Do we
we'll have
send
to-
them out to be destroyed?
There's really no need in it. We can take the necks out of the bottles, drill a hole in the bottom, and just dispose of them normally. And the gear itself, we can just shred it and do the same thing, throw it away normally. It doesn't have to be paid for to be
Okay.
gotten rid of. As long as we make the bottles unusable, it's just not something that would be safe for us liability-wise to resell to anyone. For one, they can't refill the bottles anyway because they're out of date for expiration.
Any further questions? Number 11, appoint or remove board members, committee members. A, Senior Citizens Advisory Committee. Bruce, we got one vacant.
Yes, sir, we still have one vacancy on this committee, and I still do not have any applications. If we don't receive any by Tuesday, I will remove this from the agenda.
Puts us down to number 12, a motion to approve or deny a settlement offer from the Stacy Thompson lawsuit. This would be Tuesday only, and it will be executive session Tuesday, March 6, 2018 at 5:30. That puts us down to mayor and alderman comments. Alderman Cole.
Just want to thank everyone who came out this morning with the Dunkin' Donuts ribbon cutting. That place was absolutely packed, and I'm glad to see some forward movement on the Greenway project.
Alderman Jones.
Nothing, Mayor.
Alderman Brown.
No, thank you.
I got quite a bit of stuff, but we're running way ahead of schedule. I want people to remember March 11th is daylight savings time. We're going to spring ahead an hour. It's a great time to check your smoke alarms. And then March 24th will be Easter egg hunt at the park. Now, that's always a huge turnout. Now, that turnout will blow you away, but remember, prayers and thoughts for Reverend Billy Graham for his passing. And the Dunkin' Donut, we cut the ribbon today, and I'm glad to say the Dunkin' Donut is officially open. I want to welcome Daniel Benton Court. He's the district manager for Dunkin' Donut. And we did have a good crowd on hand, and I'm excited that Dunkin' Donuts here. It adds a little bit to the dining options. And the census is coming along real good. I want to thank all the city employees. They have worked real hard to door knocking and to get us where we are. They made a big difference. And I can't stress enough for the help of the city employees. They have really worked hard. And we did get another week extension because bad weather and the flu. So it'll go one more week. So we can surely add some more people. And I believe today when it's counted up, we should be somewhere around 32,000. And hopefully we can build on that. And groundbreaking ceremonies to be Friday, March 23rd at 11 o'clock for the third building at Matlow College. They're going to add another big building, so that's always a good thing to have people go to school because a lot of people in this area depends on that. And I want to thank Mike Sparks in advance. He's supposed to be here Tuesday night to give us a certificate of resolution for the Laverne being one of the safest cities in Tennessee. Always good to see Mike Sparks, state representative, come and see us. And remind people about the Laverne Rescue Squad's having a ham breakfast, and that's on Saturday, March the 10th, from 6 to 10, and that's at the Laverne Rescue Squad on Gamble Lane, directly behind the old Civic Auditorium. Now it's the Administration Fire Building. And Citizens Police Academy, it starts Thursday, March the 15th. I urge everyone to sign up. I talked to Officer Robertson today, and she still has some seats available. More information, call the police department, ask for Sheree Robertson. She'll fix you up. And congratulations to Jamie Ingalls. If you remember, he was awarded the Civilian Congressional Medal of Honor. If you remember, he's the young man that confronted the shooter down at the church, Antioch Church, and hopefully when he gets that award, I hope to have him back at this council meeting. And and people that's on needs help with the income tax filling out. The library is hosting a thing that I think it's Friday and Saturdays from 9 to 1. It's a few stipulations. I think to qualify, your whole household has to be around 66,000, but you can get it filled out and be helpful for free. So that's an option for you at the library. Any further information, you can call the library. I'm sure they'll help you as much as they can because they always do a good job. And that's all I've got on the workshop, so I call this workshop adjourned.